Okay, it is just past the stroke of midnight on Thursday, March 24th, 2016, the current year, and you're listening to the first episode ever of the Frenchman Factor. My name is Counterfeit Frenchman. Thank you for listening. Now, before I start talking, I'd just like to give you sort of an idea of what this podcast is going to be about. A lot of you might know me from therightstuff.biz, my posting career, and I'm a regular on one of the TRS radio affiliate podcasts, The Young Whites, and I'm still going to be posting there. I'm still going to be participating in their endeavors, but I just kind of wanted to work. This is a little project of my own that I wanted to do, because this is a topic that I think I can cover pretty well. What topic is that? Well, I've been in academia for a little while now. I'm a master's student, and I'm a master's student in history, a liberal arts major, so I deal with the pausiest of the paused, the shittiest of the libs, you get the picture. The kikiest kikes that ever Jewed, that kind of thing. So this is partially psychotherapy for me, to sort of give me somewhere else to rant about, to rant on, but also really I was inspired to do this by Common Filth Radio. He does some really good stuff, just talking about the pause in America in general, but since I'm pretty deep into academia, and probably going to be pretty deep into academia for a while, I thought, this is a topic I know something about, so why not make a little podcast about it, right? Hey, it's not going to hurt anything. I've got a little free time now, and we'll keep it going, see if it turns into something. So this first episode is probably going to be a little rambly. I do have some topics that I'd like to talk about, but nothing really concrete. We're going to just jump around a few different topics. Really, I have one article that I wanted to start with for today. And some of you may have seen this, some of you might not. This is from campusreform.org. Student Satanists assemble to combat budding conservatism at UMM. Ooh, scary. All right. And right underneath it, there's a big old gay pentagram. Looks like the top of some sort of newsletter that says, "Queer Devil Worshippers for a Better Future presents Have You Heard the Bad News?" And I'm guessing that this is their newsletter. Let's go down and look at the actual article. I've skimmed it before, but this is the first time I'm going to read it all the way through. So, all right, let's get into it. The University of Minnesota Morris, UMM, gay devil worshippers are coming out of the woodwork to combat an alleged uprising of conservative voices on campus, the group announced in a campus-wide email earlier this year. The group of Satanists affirmed its mission is to address the budding conservatism on UMM's campus, according to a screenshot of the email obtained by Campus Reform. And then Campus Reform has sort of the letterhead of the email. There's some things censored out, but it says basically, "Hello, campus. My name is Reed. I'm looking to start a Satanist group at Morris to address the budding conservatism on this campus, which I find abhorrent. I'm thinking of calling the group either Gay Devil Worshippers for a Better Future or Queer Satanists for Change." Oh, man. I'm hoping the group will have a social justice platform and further such platform through good old devilish revelry. Our first meeting will be sometime next week, hopefully. Blah, blah, blah. May the first of the fallen, Apollyon, Dragon, and Lord of the Pit bless you on this day. Your favorite buttery, corn-fed, trans-femme sweetheart, Reed Wallace. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to unpack this in a minute. Let me just get to the good part of the article. Okay. I'm looking to start a Satanist group at Morris to address the budding conservatism on this campus, which I find abhorrent, blah, blah, blah. Student Reed Larson wrote to his fellow classmates. I'm thinking of calling the group either Gay Devil Worshippers for a Better Future or or in all caps for some reason, Queer Satanists for Change. The group has since elected to go by the moniker Gay Devil Worshippers for a Better Future. Rather than merely performing its standard satanic rituals, the group hopes to make social activism its primary purpose. I'm hoping the group will have a social justice platform and further such a platform through good old devilish revelry, Larson wrote. Well, first of all, let's just get into the topic of Satanism for a little bit. Now, I myself am not a Satanist because Satanists don't exist. There's no such thing, folks. They don't exist. The Satanist organizations basically started with the counterculture of the late 60s by a bunch of liberal hippies. They don't actually worship Satan. What they are is just a bunch of angry atheist queers looking to piss off their parents. And that really hasn't changed very much. I used to be... just a little bit about my background. For a long time, like through most of my undergraduate days and like senior year of high school and shit, I was pretty into like organized atheism, like super anti-theism. And some of those and in that community, you get a lot of people like adopting sort of a Satanist motif, standard. First of all, it's standard fuck you dad stuff, but I mean, obviously, if you don't believe in God, you're not going to believe in Satan. That's just retarded. But basically, a lot of atheists like to adopt that sort of imagery because they think it gets Christians pissed off. And that's not really the case from what I've seen. You get a few people who get mad, like hardcore snake handling. I feel Holy Spirit coming down on me. I'm speaking in tongues. Type stuff. But, most Christians I've talked to about Queer Satanists for Change, they don't really take them seriously. They're just like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Because maybe back in the 60s when this trick was new, you might have gotten some Christians pretty mad. But, it's been 50 fucking years. You might want to think of a new tactic because it's getting a little tired, Queer Satanists for Change. We know you're queer, okay, but we know you don't actually worship Satan, alright? At best, you're edgy, angry neo-pagans looking for someone to piss off. You're not fooling anyone. But that's not the good part of the article. That's coming. According to a student at UMM who wished to remain anonymous, the budding conservative groups on campus are not actually budding at all. What? College students not being conservative? I'm shocked. The few conservative groups on campus, including the school's gun club, pro-life club, and college Republicans, have about 20 combined members, according to the source. Yeah. So, basically, either this guy is just retarded, which, Satanism, it's a possibility. He could just be incredibly dense and stupid. But, on the other hand, I completely lost my train of thought. See, this is not good radio right here. This is not good radio. Having a dead air pause like that on the radio, you're off. But, we are not constrained to that format, thankfully, so, fuck you. I lost my train of thought. What are you going to do? I'm human. Fuck you. Oh, I remember. Obviously, there is not some great conservative uprising in fucking Minnesota, which, might I add, is mostly Scandinavian. And there are very, very few conservative Scandinavians, let me tell you. But, the fact that this group exists is annoying on one level, but also it seems like it's giving away the leftoid game a little too quickly. I mean, on the alt-right, we're all smart people. We've got our ears to the ground. We all know that the left is in charge. And on some level, the left knows it's in charge. But their whole thing for at least 50 years has been, the whole imagery of the scrappy underdog fighting the system, yada yada. And as time goes on and all these as more and more leftists move into like the commanding heights of our society, academia, government, no surprise there. Even a lot of big corporations. I mean, how many gay pride parades are sponsored by Nabisco or Coke or, big business has made its deal with the left. That's no surprise to us. Basically, aside from maybe the military, maybe very, very strong maybe on that, maybe the military, there's not really any conservative institutions left. And I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, we all know that the left is in power. On some level, the left knows it's in power. And this organization seems like it's giving the game away a little. Because if there really was a budding conservative movement on campus, you think this group would have a little bit of backlash. But what are 20 students supposed to do against this? Oh, what exactly are they doing? Nothing. They're not doing anything. They're trying to keep their heads down so the rest of the campus doesn't bite their heads off. Because that's how shit works in academia. You're not allowed to speak your mind without repercussions. On some level, everybody already knows free speech is bullshit, and it's always been bullshit. The very fact that people take internet anonymity so seriously means that, they understand on some level that even in a perfectly free society, you're not free. In effect, you are not free to say anything you want. But I don't know. I'm sort of dancing around here, but the main point here is this is giving the game away because first of all, this organization is specifically designed to piss people off. It's not just queer, it's queer Satanism. Ooh, spooky. Oh, better run back to your churches, cling to your Bibles, Middle America. We got some edgy, cool dude, queer Satanists in town. And shit. Alright, well, we're rolling through it. Let's just move. I don't think there's anything more I need to say about this part of the article. This is just blatant narrative enforcement by a bunch of edgy queers who want to play act like they're fighting the system, when I guarantee every single person on that campus agrees with every point they bring up. Maybe not the way they're expressing it, because, not everybody likes, whatever they do, dancing naked and sacrificing goats. Not everyone's into that. But the philosophical ideas that these people are bringing forward, all the egalitarianism, there is no pushback against any of this. And they're giving the game away. They're giving the game away that these conservative organizations on campus are the only organizations that receive any pushback. This is probably no surprise to my audience. So let's just stop. Let's just move on. The newsletter mocks conservatives as bigots and groups them among necromancers in an article titled 6 Reasons Why Necromancy is Better Than Bigotry. Yeah. Raising a corpse from the grave and sending it after your enemies. That's totally the same thing as, protecting the nuclear family. No difference at all. Same thing. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's just verbal diarrhea by some fag who thinks he's being edgy. I don't even know why I'm reading this. Mostly to torment myself this late at night, because otherwise I'd just go to sleep. One reason for the art of communicating with the dead is better than conservatism is because doing so does less environmental damage, the newsletter states. I think we can agree that Flint's water crisis was caused by rich government officials throwing poor black folks under the bus, and that the area will quite simply never be the same. Look, I haven't been following the Flint water crisis because I don't give a shit. I'm not a native of Michigan. I've never been to Michigan except for the Detroit airport, which, as an aside, is the shittiest airport in America. It is probably the worst airport I've ever been in, mostly because it's staffed entirely by brain-dead dindoos who can't do shit, so you have to figure everything out on your own. I actually had to use a payphone. Long story short, a few months ago I was flying from my undisclosed university back home to Massachusetts. Yeah, New Englander, paused, basically a Puritan Jew, yada yada. I don't care, fuck you. But for whatever reason, I had a layover in the Detroit airport because it was the middle of a snowstorm. My flight got delayed, and I was basically stuck there all night. Long story. And everyone in the airport was, brain dead idiot, just completely vacant cow stare. Clearly, we're talking like low 80s for average IQ of workers at the Detroit airport. Falling in line with certain bell curve theories, but right, can't talk about that, bigoted. So the only way I was able to even get anything done in that airport was by using one of their complimentary phones. I said payphone earlier, that was a mistake. It was just a complimentary free phone, just a wall phone, to call somebody far, far away, a white person in some office building somewhere, to reschedule my flight that way. So I don't know where I'm going with this. This is way off topic. See, I told you we were going to end up rambling like fucking morons, but basically, fuck Michigan, nobody cares, black folks deserve everything they get, no one gives a shit. The article also denounced conservative policies, blaming the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, for many of today's problems. Oh, hey, somebody else read Homage to Chiapas. I don't really want to get into another aside this quickly. Bill Weinberg's book, Homage to Chiapas, about the Zapatista uprising in the 90s, basically blames NAFTA for the fact that, illiterate savage Mayans can't into civilization. Although the Zapatistas themselves, the Zapatista movement was actually pretty interesting. If you ever look up anything by their leader, Subcomandante Marcos, which is like an alias, he's obviously a leftist shithead, commie bastard fuck. And if I saw him, I'd probably go steal a helicopter and, throw him out. But as far as his story goes, it's pretty interesting. He actually used to be a philosophy professor when one day he went off, basically faked his own death, I think, ran off into the jungle and started a Maya rebellion. He used to always wear a mask and talk in these really long, very eloquent philosophical statements, very menacing too, which, reminded me instantly of Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. That got a laugh out of the class. But, thing Weinberg's book did, it also blamed NAFTA for all of Mexico's problems, which, to be fair, free trade isn't really all it's cracked up to be, but calling NAFTA conservative policy, that's kind of a big push. That's a bit of a stretch, in my opinion. Even if the nominally conservative Republican Party was the big orchestrator of that, I think we can all agree that that's not really a conservative party. So naturally, their policies would not be very conservative. And indeed, the chickens of NAFTA have finally come home to roost, as we can see with our current immigration shitstorm, which, despite Mr. Trump's valiant efforts, is probably not going to be solved ever. Maybe that's a little too pessimistic for the first podcast. I understand if that triggers you, but I'm just calling it as I see it. Essentially, first of all, calling NAFTA a conservative policy is bullshit. You cannot push your pain onto other people, blaming immigrants for economic trends that were started by NAFTA, the author writes. like I was saying, you can't separate the economic trends from NAFTA, and you can't separate the immigration problem from NAFTA. So it's all one thing. You read here, queer Satanist guy, queer Satanist trans girl. So queer Satanist guy. Come on, fuck you. Queer Satanist guy here is just trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's trying to say, okay, we've got all these immigrants streaming north because of, relaxed border constraints due to NAFTA, but we're not going to talk about that because I like that. Let's talk about the bad part of NAFTA and blame it on my enemies. It's standard leftist projection, not terribly interesting, so let's keep going. Whether or not the group receives funds from UMM for this publication remains unclear. Oh, really? I'm sure your tax dollars, Minnesotans, are helping pay for this queers newsletter. But it was distributed on campus with no apparent backlash. Once again, these queer Satanists are rebelling against absolutely nothing. They are basically the establishment. I'm sure in 20 years, being a queer Satanist will be all the rage in Hollywood. And in 50 years, we'll probably have our first queer Satanist Mexican president. Whatever. Continuing. The Queer Devil Worshippers for a Better Future is formally recognized by UMM as an official student group, and its constitution was submitted to the University of Minnesota Morris Student Affairs Committee for approval. It appears that the group's pending application was approved by the university, since the group is now listed on the school's clubs and organizations page. Let's go take a look at that list, because, I don't know, I'm in for some pain. Let's take a look at their organization page on the UMN Morris page. Queer Satanist Worship for a Better Future. Oh, that just takes me right to their organizations page. The purpose of this organization shall be to give our... Oh, shit. Where'd it go? Fuck. I am technologically illiterate. Let's see here. The purpose of this organization shall be to give ourselves over to the void, embrace the deviant and the strange, promote compassion and reason in our community. Yeah, when I think of Satanism, the first thing I think of is fucking compassion, asshole. Embrace the deviant and the strange, promote compassion and reason in our community, and become an inscrutable and unknowable force on campus. Which is why I'm guessing there is no further information on this list. It's just that one paragraph, and I tried clicking the link that says read more, and it brought me to a completely blank page. Funnily enough, the Queer Devil Worshippers for a Better Future organization only has 6 official members. 6. Well, I guess when your group is only made up of 6 members, 20 conservative guys wanting you to let them keep their guns and stop trying to brainwash their women into killing their children, I guess that when you're outnumbered by that much, I guess it does seem like kind of a threat. Faggots. But, let's just keep going. According to a copy of the group's constitution, all members, all 6 of them, LOL, must recite the infernal oath. As part of the oath, members must oppose capitalism as a form of oppression. We've heard all this before. Let's keep going. All members must actively oppose all forms of oppression, including but not limited to homophobia, transphobia, sexism, racism, ableism, capitalism, and all that spawns from such treacherous lechery. But you're fucking Satanists! You should be all about treacherous lechery. What the fuck? These guys are the worst Satanists I've ever heard of. Come on, Anton LaVey is rolling over in his grave with these queers. Okay, and then they've got a little picture of the second half of the free newsletter that was given out. There's like it's ridiculous. There's like a little fashion column right here. Desecrate it yourself. Fashion tips for crafty children of the gloom. Ward away your cold. If you're like me and your feet are colder at night than the outdoor January air an inch above the driven snow, at least that's what my partner says. Oh my god. You might also be interested in this cozy tip. If you or someone you know has an alpaca familiar... Jesus Christ. These guys aren't Satanists, they're just edgy Wiccans. There are many simple charms for changing the color of your alpaca's fur. For example, a sleek inky black, or midnight blue, or even a baby's bluish pink. From there, it's a simple matter of spinning the fleece into some fashionable socks so you can keep warm while still looking fab. If no alpaca is available, ensnaring a dozen or so winter rabbits is an acceptable substitute. Oh, man. Because, of course, when I think menacing, secretive, unknowable Satanist cult, first thing I think of is fluffy socks. Blood red nails. Basically, they recommend their members use the nail polish color I'm Not Really a Waitress. The name of this The name of this polish suggests a number of amusing implications. I'm not really a waitress. I'm a shape-shifting sparrow with the soul of a pagan goddess. I'm not really a waitress. I'm a necromancer who lives alone in an abandoned laboratory underground. I'm not really a waitress. I'm a cursed sailor wandering the wasteland with an albatross hanging around my neck. Regardless, this shade is a deep, shiny red like an empty battlefield in the moonlight. Oh my god. Perfect for a witch on... Campus reform watermarks covering most of the rest of this statement. Let's just move on. 6 reasons why necromancy is better than bigotry. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing interesting here. Create your very own witchy meditation jars. Alright, I guess this is some sort of shitty mason jar crystal ball for, I guess, for hillbilly fortune tellers? I don't know. Let's take a look. What you need: jars, mason, or something cooler. There is nothing cooler than a mason jar. You can fill that shit with anything. Hopefully moonshine. Let's keep going. Mix in glitter glue and food coloring. You'll want a lot of glitter glue so the glitter falls slowly. Make sure the water is hot to kind of melt glue. Step 3. Add the glitter! In all caps, of course. Because, yelling is... I hate it when people write things in all caps, don't you? It's like, Jesus fuck, stop yelling at me, you autist. 4. Seal tightly and let the jar cool. Sorry for the stuttering, folks. This print is very small and, fuck you. Once cooled, shake and enjoy. Repeat until you have filled a room so big and you are oh so meditative. Like I said, these people are, if they're anything, they're craftsy Wiccans with an edgy touch who think they're victims. They think they're victims. When the article itself, it says there is no pushback against these people. Probably because most of the students don't really care. They just think the organization's a joke, but that's not the point. The point is what the organization stands for. The left has overplayed its hand here, and I think most people can realize that fairly easily. Let's keep going. Campus Reform has reached out to the group, but did not receive a response in time for publication. Fuck. Well, I mean, there are only 6 people. They're probably pretty overworked, so don't hold your breath there, Campus Reform. Plus, you're a conservative institution, or at least you're funded by the Leadership Institute, so... you're worse than a necromancer. You're worse than somebody who digs up a skeleton and desecrates it by breathing the unholy fires of satanic unlife into it. So, fuck you. Go to Satan, worship, pause, orgy circles, or whatever the fuck they do. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. That's a old joke from the rightstuff.biz. They used to have this thing on their header that said, "Fuck you, go to church." I'm not sure if they still have it, actually. I've been there periodically, but mostly just to the forums. I don't really get to the main site too much. It might still be there, it might not, who knows, and really, who cares? It's just a joke that I'm over-explaining because it's late at night and I'm retarded. This is my first podcast. Please bear with me. I mean, I want to get triggered by this development, but at the same time, I can't really see it as anything more than a joke. I know Common Filth has done an episode just this week where he talked about these queer Satanists, and I respect Common Filth deeply. I respect and envy his faith in God. But I think he's taking this too literally in this case. These people are not actually Satanists, CF. I'm sorry, but you're right on you're never wrong, so I'm not going to say you're wrong on this. You're just not right on this, which is not the same thing as being wrong. And don't ask me how. Relativism, ooga booga. But these people are a joke. And the fact that they're a joke instead of being driven back into the shadows shows you that there is no conservative pushback. Okay, there just isn't. 20 people in the group, and it's in Minnesota. Maybe if you were in West Virginia or Oklahoma or Kansas, I might be a little... I might be able to make an argument that the surrounding culture was pretty conservative, but Minnesota. Fucking Minnesota. Come on. I mean, they're going to be pretty conservative soon once the Somali immigrants outbreed them, but for right now, they're... Come on, 20 people. 20 fucking people. This organization only exists to piss people off. It hasn't pissed them off because everybody knows it's a joke. No one's fooled. Nobody is fooled, except apparently CF. Sorry, CF. On this one, you're just not right. Sorry. But it's interesting. It started getting me thinking about some other topics. Because, like I said, I have a sort of passing familiarity with people who pretend to be Satanists. And... It just struck me as very strange that, well, not really strange, but unexpected that all these organizations that claim to worship Satan and the father of lies, Lucifer, the dragon of the pit, the false prophet, blah, blah. I have many names. Ha 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 ha. Satan, ooga booga. All these organizations that claim to worship Satan, the dark lord of this world, that they would immediately say that, no, being a Satan worshiper isn't evil. It's all about tolerance and love and social justice and compassion. Hello, father of lies. Even if Satan was real, you're getting conned. You're just getting conned. You're trusting someone who's telling you they're a liar if you're a Satanist. And well, first of all, that's retarded. But it also got me thinking a little about the question of evil, really. Because what is evil? Evil, if you're religious, as most people who would believe in Satan are, religion is... evil is doing something you know to be against God's will. And God's will is always right. It is perfectly good. This isn't anything new for anybody, so I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, I find it very strange that these supposed Satanist organizations can say they're all about love and tolerance and not think that, maybe this is a put-on, maybe I shouldn't be putting my trust in some sort of supernatural figure who the first thing he does in the Bible is lie to someone. Come on, that's stupid. I don't know really who this segment is made for. I mean, Satan is, like I said, they don't exist. They're just Wiccans trying to be edgy. They're just atheists trying to piss off their parents, okay? They're not real. Satanism doesn't real. But as far as evil goes, it's very interesting that I find it interesting that so many things that are evil feel good. Evil feels good. We are flawed creatures. I mean, you see someone you don't like, you think, oh, I'll punch them in the fucking face. And then you punch them in the fucking face, and you feel good. You want something from someone, so you steal their wallet, take their cash, and you have money, and that feels good. You want to have sex with whoever you want without taking responsibility for your actions? Oh, well, just go out and fuck someone. And then you feel good. I guess that's all. I mean, I'm not a terribly religious person, but if I was, I would say something along the lines of, this is all part of Satan's trap. You know, give you a fun, good life on Earth, and then surprise, hellfire and damnation and torment and whatever. Maybe that's a little too irreverent for my religious listeners, but I'm sorry, I find it very hard to be religious because I'm just naturally irreverent. I find it hard to take a lot of things seriously, especially when they're, I don't know, maybe that's just like a holdover from being involved in atheist groups for so long, like super fedora tier atheist groups. I don't know. Point is, evil feels good, so people get sucked in, and that's a very hard cycle to escape. Sorry, something flew into my throat. But, you know, I'm just circling around the point here. Let's keep going. Speaking of evil, actually, that reminds me of a story. It actually happened just today. A few hours ago. Earlier this afternoon, I decided to go for a run. I used to be a distance runner, and I'm trying to get back in shape. Not for any particular race, just because I wanted to feel healthy. Not that I'm getting fat, but you know, you can tell when you're out of shape, and I wanted to get back in shape. So I decided today, I'm going to start off on a good note. I'm going to go running, and it's going to be great. And it was pretty great. It was the best run I'd had for a while, except for, I don't know. I'll just tell you the story, just from the beginning. So, by my apartment building is like 3 blocks from a pretty big river with a trail going along it and like a playground and some parks. And apparently, it stretches off, sort of follows the river, and it goes into sort of a less developed woody area, but it also runs past some major campus buildings too. It's just a nice place people go to relax or walk their dogs or take their kids to the playground. And basically when I was running, I started noticing, I live in a very white area, so I noticed all these white people I see. I don't know how to describe it. They just looked weak. Like, I didn't see anybody that was in any sort of good shape. I'm sure there were some people there, but they were all like older couples just holding hands out for a walk. I think I saw one young family with a child, but other than that, it was all fat guys walking extremely slowly with their earbuds in, probably listening to some rap or some, degenerate bullshit. I'm not much of a music person, but rap is pretty degenerate. Or skinny I'm pretty skinny, but like unhealthily skinny looking hipster guys just sort of milling around. They looked lost. They looked like they were lost. They looked like a baby after the umbilical cord's cut, just because they weren't looking at their phone. It looked like they had been looking at their phones for so long that they had forgotten how to interact with people, which is a common thing among millennials, but I don't know, I guess it just really didn't hit home to me until I went for this run today. But the other thing I noticed was a lot of sandy Americans, some Arab folk walking around, and I noticed something. A lot more kids, a lot more family pairings, and the men, fairly jacked. Not terribly jacked, but they looked like people who took care of their bodies, that were in shape. And it really got me thinking, God, I'm really glad that there's such a small portion of the American population, because if they were to come here in any significant numbers, white people would be fucked, because we've just stopped caring about ourselves. We have, even walking around campus, it's rare that I see anyone who's in any sort of decent physical shape. They're all either skinny nerds or kind of fat, blubbery weirdos. Not just obese. Not obese. I don't want to say obese, because obese has a special clinical definition. But these people, just overweight. I think they call it dad bod now, where I guess it's some sort of encouragement to I guess just not give a shit about your weight and just be happy being a shapeless blob that looks 20 years older than you should be. We're weak. We've stopped giving a shit about ourselves. And it's just sad, even in this this overwhelmingly white area that I live in. It was just extremely depressing seeing my fellow white people walking around. And, I don't want to feel that way. And, I don't really have any decent solution for it. I don't really think there is a solution for it. I know that's pessimistic, but let's talk about therapy. I have a friend, not a psychologist yet, but a psychology major, interested in therapy. He's actually interning, I think, with a therapist right now. It is extremely hard to get someone to change their behavior. If you ever do it, it's a very long process, because people, they don't like change. They don't like to change. Your psychology wants to stay the way it is, because your ego does not like change, because change will, of necessity, change your ego, your conscious mind, which, in a way, even if it's for the better, is a loss of identity, and the ego always fights against a loss of identity. And so, it's very hard to get people to change their lifestyle. Normally it requires some sort of, big change. If you want to drastically change someone's life, I don't know, you need some sort of big change. And, whether that be, having a friend, having a spiritual experience and thinking, wow, I'm not taking very good care of my body. This body is supposed to be, my heart is the dwelling place of the Lord, and look what kind of shape the vessel carrying that heart is in. God, I'm not taking very good care of this at all. I should get in shape. I want to feel better about myself. That's a stupid, narcissistic, in my opinion, that's a pretty narcissistic reason for wanting to get in shape. But I don't know where I'm going with this, except that it really just brought home to me just how much further we have to go, I guess. Because A lot of these white people you see around, they just don't want to take care of themselves. They don't want change. Peace has made them weak. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And I don't see that changing in the near future. Our social system, it's just too stable. There's not going to be any hard, fast shocks to the system to scare people into changing on a societal level. I don't see those happening soon. I mean, maybe the Trump thing will pan out. I have my reservations on it. I'd certainly like to see it happen, but even that, I don't see anything major happening because, I don't know. This is getting off topic. I can talk about politics another time. Like I said, this is kind of a long, rambly first episode, and we're sort of getting off topic. And it's getting fairly late, so I'm just going to call it a night. Thank you for listening to the Frenchman Factor. Like I said, I'm your host, Counterfeit Frenchman, and if there's anything paused or shitty or triggering going on at your university, send me a quick email at frenchmanfactor@gmail.com, and maybe I'll see if I can talk about it on the air. Maybe give you a little help for how to deal with it. Just triggering stories from your academic career, any sort of news articles. You can even ask for advice. I don't claim to be a very good advice giver. I'm certainly no sage or anything, but I can give it a shot if you don't mind. Me rambling and saying stupid shit at you. Maybe some of it'll help. So yeah. This is an open call for submissions. So, show me what you come up with, I guess, if you want to. No pressure. I can come up with stuff on my own, but I think it'd be very interesting to have a little audience interaction, if you guys are up for it. If I even have an audience. Who knows, I could just be talking to myself. But, I don't know, like I said, we'll see how this first podcast goes. So, this is Counterfeit Frenchman signing off. You guys have a good night, and listen to the Young Whites this week. It's going to be a very good one. All right, see ya.